Hello, everyone. My name is Clara West, and I am here to introduce the group debate project in S18. We have chose uh, to debate whether personal liberties trumps habilitation or vice versa. Again, I am Clara. I am currently an RBT and future BCBA attending classes at Ball State University. During this debate, I will do the introduction as I'm doing now. I will summarize pros and cons from both sides, conclude the presentation, and open a Q&A forum for the debaters. Alora is also an RBT and future BCBA attending classes at Ball State University. She has chosen to debate and advocate for individuals with disabilities retaining personal liberties. Lastly, Dominique is a current student at Ball State University. She is going to be debating the need for habilitation in individuals with disabilities. For the introduction of the presentation, our first question, what does the need for habilitation mean to people? We plan to assist the audience with determining whether the right to personal liberty should be chosen over habilitation or the opposite. To many, the term habilitation in individuals with disabilities refers to those individuals being placed in facilities to be cared for and worked with in order to retain or gain skills. Dominique will be able to explain more in depth during later slides. As for the right to personal liberties, the term includes an individual's freedom to express opinions and make choices, pursue happiness, secure privacy, etc. Alora will touch on that on her slides. In our field, we will run into many instances where we have to assist in the decision-making process for individuals needing habilitation, but also be wary of infringing on those individual rights. This is why this topic should be important to professionals in the ABA field. Knowledge in this topic will be crucial for current and future clients to receive client-based therapy that is in the client's best interest. I now turn it over to Dominique.
Okay. Hello. So I'm going to be talking about the need for habilitation. The need for habilitation is very important. Habilitation is services that help a person improve and build their skills. This includes, but isn't limited to, treatments that help individuals replace challenging behaviors with functional behaviors, interventions for children who have not yet hit the milestones expected, and even treatments for those who cannot walk or talk. The goal of habilitation is to develop behaviors that are maximized by reinforcement and minimized by punishers. The goal of habilitation is also to guide individuals with disabilities through targeted treatment, to develop and maintain daily living and life skills to improve their overall quality of life. Treatments can include, but again, are not limited to, behavioral therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. There are many advantages to habilitation. Advantages include providing structure and guidance through research-based interventions to improve quality of life for individuals. Another that goes along with quality of life is that habilitation helps to improve and maintain skills needed for daily living and long-term goals. For example, occupational therapy helps with living skills such as teeth brushing, hair brushing, showering, skills that individuals may need for daily living and overall quality of life. Another advantage is the opportunity to create well thought out goals, track data, and keep records and tracking progress of the individuals. This is a great way to show how the individuals are progressing and what goals still need to be reached and what goals are they've been maintaining. There can be someone there to monitor clients' physical and mental conditions. Most places provide one-to-one therapy, and so there's always somebody there to monitor their progress, their physical health, their mental health, and their overall day-to-day living. Habilitation is designed to help individuals who struggle to take care of themselves, whether that's physically, mentally, or socially. It can teach new behaviors for people with disabilities to coexist in different settings where there are standard normacies. And then also decreasing maladaptive behaviors and self injurious behaviors, again, using scientifically backed interventions. Habilitation also does come with its disadvantages. Disadvantages might include individuals tend to lose their free will and freedom of choice, which Laura will touch on. So, that is a disadvantage of habilitation. Individuals may become dependent on services and people who are mentoring and guiding their treatment. So, for the one on one therapy, it's great to have somebody there all the time, but individuals may become dependent on them for those skills rather than actually being able to generalize those skills outside of the habilitation setting. It could limit academic freedom and restrict the individual to certain treatment goals when they could be doing more. There are many instances where goals are implemented that clients may find too easy or they learn quickly, um, and then it kind of limits their academic and learning development. Or in some cases for behavioral therapy, many clients do leave school early to come to these facilities to get treatment, thus also stunting their learning development. Low treatment fidelity can hinder the client's progress that they may otherwise be able to make given free liberties. Habilitation does have an effect on participation. Those would include, we may see those with problem behaviors engaging in higher magnitude behaviors to then avoid and escape treatment goals. Those who wish to have personal liberties and choose not to practice these skills can render treatment useless. For those who want the help and understand that the help is needed, they tend to buy into treatment more and have success. Habilitation is not just for individuals with autism spectrum disorder or developmental disabilities, it's also for people who need to learn to walk again, talk again, and other examples like that. In ABA specifically, they use reinforcement to increase or decrease behavior and compliance. Clients begin to learn that with an increase in compliance and a decrease in maladaptive behaviors, they gain reinforcement quicker and begin to see more freedom in their treatment. Habilitation also has an effect on behavior. We may see those with problem behaviors engaging in, oh, sorry. The effects on behavior is teaching new replacement skills, again, for those high magnitude behaviors, or just in general of daily living skills for those who don't have those skills. We can teach new replacement behaviors in order to improve those skills. There is a decrease in maladaptive and self-injurious behavior once they learn skills such as communication or self-regulation. Develop a repertoire of long and short-term behaviors that increase quality of life and social skills. In ABA specifically, it gives clients the tools to interact with others socially. It decreases problem behaviors in other settings and can build educational skills. In OT, an example is they give their clients tools to perform self-care tasks such as teeth brushing, showering, and other hygiene hygiene. As mentioned earlier, it gives clients tools to help self-regulate and identify their emotions and what can help those emotions, and hopefully then generalize into settings where they can then use those skills. Speech therapy gives kids tools to communicate effectively. Nonverbal clients can be given AAC devices or PECs to help them communicate, thus having an effect on their behavior. Verbal clients are given structured goals and treatment for speech impediments or speech delays, or um, or in order to communicate their wants and needs to others effectively. Relevant ethics codes that go for habilitation. The first one would be 2.01, which is providing effective treatment behavior. Providing effective treatment. Behavior analysis prioritize clients' rights and needs in service delivery. They provide services that are conceptually consistent with behavioral principles based on scientific evidence. So this goes back to the treatment that is being applied in these situations are scientifically backed, and with free liberties, then that could turn into there's no scientific backing for it and not really effective. Then 2.09, involving clients and stakeholders. Behavior analysis make appropriate efforts to involve clients and relevant stakeholders throughout the service relationship, including selecting goals, selecting and designing assessments, and behavior change interventions, and conducting continual progress monitoring. And there's many cases where even children with autism that are higher functioning are able to have more of a say in their treatment. There's behavioral contracts and other things like that where the client could have more say in their therapy. 2.12 is considering medical needs. Behavior analysis ensure to the best of their ability that medical needs are assessed and addressed. If there's any reasonable likelihood that a referred behavior is influenced by medical or biological variables, they document referrals made to medical professionals and follow up with clients after making the referral. In many instances, there's the effects of one's behaviors can affect others, and it could also then be medical. So we can target those goals better in a more focused setting. And then the final one is 2.15, which is minimizing risk of behavior. Change interventions, behavior analysis, select, design, and implement behavior change interventions with a focus on minimizing risk of harm to the client and stakeholders. So this can come into, again, that self-injurious behavior where a client is at risk of harming themselves, or high magnitude behaviors are at risk of potentially hurting others. So these interventions are very useful in minimizing those behaviors. Another question is, does habilitation interfere with the right to exercise personal liberties? And the answer is habilitation can interfere with individuals' personal liberties. However, habilitation is beneficial for those who may not know the difference between right and wrong, engage in behaviors that can harm and infect others, have social unawareness, and are at risk of being bullied or may put themselves in unknowingly dangerous situations. Without habilitation, clients with disabilities may discontinue a life of engaging in negative behaviors that affect themselves and others.
Thank you, Dominique. We will now turn it over to Alora to discuss of personal liberties.
I'm Alora. Personal liberties. First, what are personal liberties? Personal liberties are the freedom of an individual to do as they please, and freedom is only limited by authority, such as like government, police, and this helps to secure, public health, safety, morals, and these rights also cover their privacy, freedom of speech, and the decision to make your own decision about your own life. All clients should have and do have the right to help pick what kind of goals and treatment plans they want to be involved in or don't, because clients also have the right to deny treatment if they wish, or if they remind their caregiver if they don't agree. Personal liberties, BCBA principles that go with personal liberties is informed consent, which is the ABA model's rule of professional conduct defines informed consent as the agreement by a person to a proposed course of conduct after the lawyer has communicated adequate information and I don't know, that says lawyer. That should not have said lawyer. Have given an explanation about the risks and responsibilities and possible alternatives for like a treatment plan, written approvals, which is behavior analysts obtain the client or caregiver's written consent before obtaining or disclosing any kind of confidential information from other sources or before they start assessment purposes. And for the rights of clients, policies should address each of the 6 basic client rights, which include privacy and confidentiality, as well as informed consent, choice of treatment, dignity, respect, and access to records. They should also clearly define the expectations for behavior analysts and other staff members that will be working with the clients. Excuse me. Some relevant codes. There are quite a few codes. The first one being 1.15, which has to do with responding to requests. So behavior analysts make the appropriate effort to respond to requests from information and comply with the deadlines of relevant individuals. For example, clients or caregivers ask for information, or the stakeholders, supervisees, trainees, and anybody that might be entitled to information. They also comply with practice requirements and making sure that everyone that's going to work with clients or might come into contact with clients are who they say they are and should be there and not just random people. And this is imposed by the BCBA, the board, ones you might be working with, your employers, or any governmental entities. The next being 2.01, providing effective treatment, because everyone has the right to effective and proper care. Behavior analysts prioritize client rights and their need for getting services, as well as you making sure you use this, anything scientific, not just anything. Okay. 2.09, involving clients and stakeholders. Behavior analysts make sure that they use the appropriate efforts to involve clients and stakeholders throughout the services relationship, including making goals and designing and selecting assessments and any kind of interventions, and making sure they're included in the continual progress monitoring of the interventions. A couple more codes. 2.11, obtaining informed consent. Behavior analysts are responsible for knowing about and complying with all proper conducts, which they are held by usually the board of the BCBA or your employer, or if you're an RBT. Just mostly making sure that you are absolutely making sure that your client and their caregivers understand what informed consent is, and making sure that you are properly getting it. And if they cannot consent, if they are underage, at least assent from clients if they are of the mental capacity to give assent. The next relevant code being 3.01, which is, of course, responsibility to clients. Behavior analysts are always wanting to act in the best interest of the clients, taking steps to support their rights, making sure that they do the best that they can do to cause as little harm as possible during any kind of treatments, making sure that they are knowledgeable and following all laws and regulations, and reporting anything that is mandated if required. I think this should be the last page of codes. 3.12, being advocating for appropriate services. Behavior analysts should advocate for and educate clients and stakeholders about evidence-based assessments and interventions, as well as advocating for their clients and helping them advocate for themselves and their goals. And the last code is 5.01, protecting the rights of clients, stakeholders, supervisees, and trainees. Behavior analysts should take the appropriate steps to protect all the rights of their clients and the stakeholders, supervisees, trainees, anybody that is under their care. And behavior analysts should always prioritize the rights of their clients in any and all public statements given. Next is effects on participation that personal liberties has. First one being when clients are given a choice in treatment, this may possibly give them more motivation to complete goals and treatment plans. Second being, if clients are given the chance to help make decisions to treatment plans, this can help prepare them for making decisions independently in the real world. Not that like a school or in-home or a clinic isn't considered the real world, but it is very structured compared to what a person might face out on their own. So as prepared as we could get them is the best way to go. Providing choices and including clients in their treatment plans may also help lower problem behaviors, and it can also increase participation and improve performance. Everybody likes choices, and especially when you're working with young children, if you're just telling them all the time to do one thing, they're probably not going to be too happy with that. But if you give them choices between two things and they get to pick, they might feel a bit more excited to do the work. Like, okay, or like if you do like the first then as well, like first we could do this and then we can do this, it gives them something to look forward to and might help them want to work with you a little bit more. And then we have some advantages versus disadvantages of personal liberties. The first advantage being providing choices offer the client some autonomy and allows them to have a little bit more independence. The first disadvantage being a client might only want to make choices that they like, but these choices might not actually hold any real benefits for them. Or if it's they want to do something dangerous like climb on a chair and stand on it, that could cause more harm, and they might choose that, but it's not really good for them. Advantage two being if you let your client have more choices, this might help improve your rapport with them. If they think they get to hang out with you and get to make a couple fun choices, as long as with the work, they'll probably like you a little bit more. The second disadvantage being beneficial choice making versus pleasure choice making can make making choices hard for clients. It's kind of a little bit like the first one, because not everyone knows just because you have two choices that one choice might not be better than the other choice. And if they're always choosing the choice that's not better for them, they might not see that this is not going to benefit them. Advantage number three is that research has shown that clients prefer to make their own choices rather than having choices picked for them all the time, especially in children that are maybe a bit more higher functioning and know like, hey, this one thing is kind of boring, but you got to do it. Choice three, or disadvantage three, clients can get upset when they can't make all those choices and decisions during a session. So letting them make choices and having the personal choice might be good, but if they're choosing to, let's say, play the tablet all the time instead of choosing to do some work, they're not really going to get anywhere. It's not going to help them build any skills. They're just going to want to pick the fun choice. Advantage four is kind of goes with really all three previous ones, is improves quality of life. If you can get to the way of making your own choices and having that autonomy, that independence, that is overall going to improve quality of life because you will be making those choices and you will be learning by seeing the follow through of what happens. Disadvantage 4 being without proper care and support, it could lead to abuse and neglect. So if clients are just not getting like the help that they need because they're choosing to either opt out or not to go to these services and learn more, they might be at risk of not learning things like, hey, if someone is doing this, this is not a good thing to have for them to be doing. So if they're not going to the and getting like the habilitation or like learning how to be on their own, that makes them very dependent on other people. And sometimes, unfortunately, you could become very dependent on people that aren't there to help you. So that is a risk. Advantage number 5 is by going with personal liberties, we are following the laws that were set in place to protect a person's right to choose, and we definitely want to make sure we're following the laws. For disadvantage 5, focusing too much on personal liberties could lead to neglect of necessary care and support, which goes a lot with 4. If you're just focusing all the time on just doing what you want to do, you are likely not going to get all of the care and support that you need to make these important decisions. Last advantage for number 6 is that it helps promote self-advocacy and self-determination. Learning how to advocate for yourself is very important. Disabilities or not, being able to speak up for yourself and knowing what you need and how to ask for what you need and how to look for what you need is a very important life skill. Personal liberties, effects on behavior. So having a choice in the treatment plan can help decrease problem behaviors in clients. Number 2, giving opportunities for choice can help improve client and staff rapport. Sometimes you can't be like the fun person all the time, but sometimes you could be the fun person at work, and it's always good. 3, giving choices can help de-escalate situations. This is something I have personally seen happen at work a couple of times. Number 4, choices can help keep client motivated. And number 5, giving choices help clients with their feeling of independence. Are personal liberties compromised with a suspected need for habilitation? Number 1, the need for habilitation may compromise personal liberties. A client may want to do one thing, but they have to do what their treatment plan, their RBT, their schedule says. They've got to follow it. And this could definitely compromise personal liberties if you don't want to do it. Number 2, if a client has less say in their lives, this could lead them to being taken advantage of or abused if they don't know that that's wrong, if they don't know how to advocate for themselves or what to look for. Number 3, having to depend, which also goes into number 2, having to depend on other people all the time to make choices for them could lead to the client feeling overly dependent on others and making them even harbor feelings of resentment for that dependency that they have on other people, which could lead to resentment towards oneself. Number 4, opportunities really got really badly spell check where choices may not be given. Number 5, choice making is not always something that is taught. So if you're just doing what you want to do all the time, you definitely could be, missing out on some skills. Number 6, RBTs or other staff may teach behaviors without thinking about the client's preference or thinking about the client's past with behavior. So let's say maybe you have a client that came in for somewhere else, and let's say they might have already learned a lot of this behavior, but maybe they weren't showing it really well. And then you decide to start from scratch at this new place, and this could make the client angry because they feel like they've already learned a lot of this, but maybe they aren't listening. So at the end, personal liberties can definitely compromise the need for habilitation.
The following 2 slides contain tables compiling the pros and cons of both the right to exercise personal liberties as well as the need for habilitation. which were outlined and explained in the debate by Dominique and Alora. Pros of habilitation include participation in community-based activities with other individuals, services that are tailored to meet individual needs, and the consistent work to retain and or restore abilities and skills individuals may need to exercise as much freedom as possible. Cons for habilitation include limited choices by individuals who may not have been deemed incoherent of making their own choices. In daily habilitation programs, there often may be a fixed schedule that cannot be altered, even if an individual would prefer other activities. And lastly, appropriate habilitation may need expertise from unavailable professionals as well as resources that may be unavailable to the facility. This table outlines the pros and cons of the right for an individual to exercise personal liberties. For an individual to be able to exercise personal liberties, they also gain autonomy and self-esteem by making choices on their own and not depending on another adult. There is evidence supporting the improvement of an individual's quality of life as well as a decrease in problem behaviors. A person learns respect for individuality and their rights when provided with the ability to make their own choices. With that freedom to make choices, an individual is more likely to participate and engage with others, be more confident in decision making within that engagement. Cons of an individual exercising personal liberties can include safety risks if the individual is uninformed, misinformed, or simply does not understand the information provided. Another issue that may arise in the concern of one individual using their freedom of choice is the infringement on another's rights. If personal liberties are exercised, a person has the ability to decline therapeutic processes and medical care, which may do more harm than good in the end. And lastly, the individual making the decisions may not follow ethical policies depending on the setting where they are making the choices. In conclusion, both exercising personal liberties and the need for habilitation can coexist. If there is a need for habilitation, the staff who work with individuals can ensure to provide as many opportunities and instances for choices and freedom as possible. They can ensure to include activities to the best of their abilities that the person chooses within the set schedule that is created. Service providers can integrate freedom of choice, promote the sharing of opinions, and ensure client input when discussing activities, schedules, and daily routines that must be followed. With a balance of personal liberties and people with disabilities who are a part of habilitation services, the individual will experience a better quality of life and feel more freedom in their everyday lives. We will now open a Q&A forum for Dominique or Laura, whoever would like to answer. Does the idea of rehabilitation and personal liberties differ when discussing children versus adults?
I feel no. I think adults may have more of the ability to have free will or have ideas of what they may want. Um, but kind of as I explained, depending on children or adult, wouldn't matter when it comes to those medical or those challenging behaviors or any type of daily living skills. It's just more for children that would be early intervention versus adults may be maybe different interventions based on their skills and kind of cognitive learning at that point.
Okay. We'll move on to question number 2. I'm gonna direct this one at Alora. When does the unwise or harmful choices of an individual constitute the removal of personal liberties for safety reasons? So
Um,
how would you be able to tell when enough is enough and that person no longer needs to make those decisions? And I guess what happens if we go too far and someone gets hurt?
what we want to do, of course, is avoid anyone getting hurt in the first place, like children with self-injurious behaviors, for example. If they are, in the middle of this and it's becoming very clear that either they won't stop or that it is going to turn into a very serious injury, of course, at that moment, the personal liberty of them wanting to engage in that behavior versus their safety trumps their want or need to participate in that behavior. I know the next question talks more about personal experiences, but for this one, this is something, even though I haven't been in RBT long, that I've seen quite a bit at work, especially with some of our younger clients who are maybe not a bit more high functioning that engage in self injurious behaviors, that we have to remove them or introduce a mat to the situation to help protect their head or their hands if they're hitting, or offering a chewy if they're biting to help keep them safe.
Okay. With that, I'll ask the final question. Do either of you have any other personal experiences related to the debate topic you would like to share?
I have one. I have, I'm a behavior consultant, so I'm doing my internship currently. So I do have kind of a client that I oversee, or I write the programs for, and then I have my supervisor kind of overseeing me. Um, and if it were up to him, the whole session would just be playing and running around, and he hates doing any kind of table work, any kind of structured interventions that we have. But upon talking to parents and kind of baseline assessing his his answers to these questions, he doesn't have the understanding of strangers or personal boundaries or any kind of peer pressure. And parents are very worried about that. And after, again, baseline assessment, it's clear he does not have these kinds of skills. Um, so these interventions and table works and almost making him do the interventions that we have in place has now shown a significant increase in that self-awareness. He's able to identify strangers and how to approach strangers or what to do when they approach him. He's on like the path to understanding peer pressures, which is great to generalize for any kind of setting, and will diminish that risk of him being harmed or others being harmed.
I think that was a great answer. I think that was well-rounded, and I believe we've had a great debate. And at that point, I will move on to the reference slides, and we will end our debate.